Before the lights, before the judges, before the world knew his name, there was just a barefoot Filipino boy singing on the broken streets of Manila with a voice powerful enough to stop strangers in their tracks. Tonight, you are about to hear the unbelievable journey of a child no one expected, a moment no one planned, and a golden buzzer that shocked America. If stories of hope, raw talent, and life-changing moments inspire you, hit subscribe now and stay with us, because this story will stay in your heart long after the final note fades. His name was Mateo Cruz, and for most of his life, the world passed him by without ever knowing what it was missing. Mateo grew up in one of Manila's most crowded neighborhoods, where houses leaned against each other like tired old men, and narrow streets were always alive with noise. Vendors shouted, jeepneys roared past, and music drifted from cracked radios hanging from open windows. Mateo's home was a single-room shack made of rusted metal sheets and patched wood, shared with his mother and younger sister. His father had been a construction worker who left for a job overseas and never returned, not even with a goodbye. No letters, no calls, just silence. Mateo's mother, Alina, worked long hours washing clothes for wealthier families. Her hands were always rough, her back always aching, but she never complained in front of her children. Every peso mattered. Some days, dinner was rice and soy sauce. Other days, it was nothing at all. But every night, when the city noise softened and the heat finally loosened its grip, Mateo sang. He sang not because he dreamed of fame, but because singing was the only time he felt free. His voice carried emotions he didn't have words for: pain, hope, fear, and something deeper that even he didn't fully understand. People began to notice him on the streets. At first, they dropped coins into an old plastic cup without looking at his face. Then they started stopping. Some filmed him on their phones. Others cried quietly before walking away. Mateo never asked for money. He sang because the streets were his stage, and the night sky was his audience. He didn't know about America's Got Talent. He didn't know what a golden buzzer was. All he knew was that when he sang, the hunger hurt a little less. One afternoon, a tourist from California heard Mateo singing an old English song with an accent that somehow made it even more beautiful. The tourist asked him where he learned to sing like that. Mateo smiled shyly and said he learned from broken radios and borrowed phones. The tourist recorded a short video and uploaded it online before flying home. Mateo went back to his corner on the street, unaware that his life had just changed. Within weeks, that video spread faster than anyone expected. Millions of views, thousands of comments, people asking who this boy was and why his voice sounded like it carried a lifetime of sorrow. A Filipino talent scout saw the video and tracked Mateo down. When the scout told Alina about America's Got Talent, she laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. America felt like another planet. Plane tickets alone cost more than she earned in years. The first twist came when an anonymous donor stepped forward after seeing the video. The donor paid for Mateo's passport, visa, and travel expenses, with one condition. Mateo had to promise to never forget where he came from. Mateo nodded, not fully understanding how far he was about to go. Flying on a plane for the first time, Mateo pressed his face to the window, watching Manila disappear beneath the clouds. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of expectation. For the first time, the streets were behind him. Ahead was a stage that could either change everything or crush him completely. Backstage at America's Got Talent, Mateo felt smaller than ever. Contestants warmed up their voices, dancers stretched, magicians practiced sleight of hand. Mateo stood alone, clutching a folded photo of his mother and sister. He wore borrowed shoes and a simple jacket donated by the show's staff. When a producer asked if he was nervous, Mateo answered honestly. He said he was terrified. When his name was called, the theater lights blinded him. The audience quieted. 4 judges sat before him, powerful figures who had seen everything, or so they thought. Simon Cowell leaned back, arms crossed, expression unreadable. When asked about his story, Mateo spoke softly about singing on the streets of Manila and helping his mother survive. The crowd listened, unsure what to expect. Then Mateo began to sing. The first note silenced the room completely. It wasn't just pitch or control. It was emotion so raw it felt almost intrusive, like listening to someone's soul crack open. His voice started gently, fragile, then rose with unexpected strength. Every lyric carried the weight of hunger, abandonment, and hope. Halfway through the song, one of the judges wiped away tears. By the final note, the audience was on its feet. For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. Then the applause exploded. Simon Cowell stood up slowly, shaking his head in disbelief. He said he had heard thousands of singers, but very few who sang like they had lived every word. Another judge called Mateo a once-in-a-generation talent. Mateo nodded politely, still trying to breathe. That was when the second twist came. As the judges discussed, Simon asked Mateo who he sang for. Mateo answered without hesitation. He said he sang for his mother, who was watching from Manila, and for every kid who thought their dreams were too big for their life. Simon looked at the golden buzzer, then at Mateo, then back at the audience. When Simon slammed his hand down, golden confetti exploded from the ceiling. Mateo froze. He didn't understand what was happening until the crowd erupted louder than ever. Tears streamed down his face as he dropped to his knees. The golden buzzer had been pressed. He was going straight to the live shows. From Manila streets to golden buzzer glory, his life had changed in a single second. But the story didn't end there. Fame came fast, and not all of it was kind. Online critics questioned whether his story was real. Some accused the show of exaggeration. Others said street singers were being used for sympathy. Mateo tried not to read comments, but words have a way of finding you. Doubt crept in. What if the judges expected too much now? What if he failed? During rehearsals, Mateo lost his voice from stress and exhaustion. Doctors warned him to rest or risk permanent damage. Producers worried he might have to withdraw. For the first time since leaving Manila, Mateo felt truly afraid. Without his voice, who was he? That night, he called his mother. Alina told him something simple. She said even if he never sang another note, she was already proud. She reminded him that he didn't sing to win, but to feel alive. That conversation changed everything. Mateo returned to rehearsals calmer, focused, singing not to impress, but to tell his truth. When he performed live, his voice returned stronger than before. Each round pushed him further, and each performance reminded America why they fell in love with him in the first place. Whether Mateo won the entire competition or not almost stopped mattering. He had already achieved something greater. He had shown the world that talent can rise from anywhere, even from streets people walk past every day without looking down. When the season ended, Mateo returned briefly to Manila. This time, he didn't sing for coins. He sang for a crowd that filled the street, for kids who saw themselves in him, and for a mother who no longer had to wash clothes until her hands bled. Mateo's journey wasn't just about a golden buzzer. It was about dignity, resilience, and the power of being heard. His voice didn't just shock AGT. It reminded millions that greatness doesn't ask permission to exist.